Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we're going to learn how to crochet step by step the MYRTO hat. A few things that I want to mention before we start is that I used about half a skein of yarn to crochet this hat. We're going to see the materials that I used in a sec. I've used about half a skein. I'm crocheting this with a 4.5mm crochet hook. I'm crocheting for 6 to 10 years old. And the most important thing that I want to mention is that in the chart that you see in the beginning of the video, I'm giving you all the information needed so you can crochet this hat in any size that you want, from newborn to men's size. I have worked this in all sizes. I've worked all the hats, so this way I'm giving you all the information that you need. The crochet hook, either a 4 or a 4.5. This stitches to start with for each size, the total number of rows that we need to work the increases, the total number of stitches that you're going to have after you have worked all the increases, the total number of rows for each hat in order to have the correct height for each size, and the total number of shells that we're going to have in each row. Okay, so now let's see the materials that I've used and how to start. Now let's see the material that we're going to use, and I'm crocheting with Alize Baby Best, which is 90% acrylic, 10% bamboo, and I'm crocheting with 4.5mm crochet hook as my chart states. Okay, I'm crocheting for a 6-10-year-old hat, and what I want to show before we start is how to use the chart. Okay, so now for this age, I'm crocheting for a 6 to 10 years old hat. Okay, now my chart mentions that I need 6 rows of increases, and as I see in the chart for this age, in the first row I'm starting with 12 double crochet in my magic circle. Okay, in row number 2, where I'm going to work increases in every stitch, I'm going to have 24 stitches. In row 3, where I'm going to work increases in every second stitch, I'm going to have 36 stitches. In row 4, where I'm going to work increases in every third stitch, I'm going to have 48 stitches. In row 5, where I'm going to work increases in every fourth stitch, I'm going to have 60 stitches. And in row 6, where I'm going to work increases in every fifth stitch, I'm going to have a total of 72 double crochet in the end of the row. Okay, and the reason that I mentioned how many stitches we need to have in the beginning of our magic circle in row 1 is because for newborn we start with only 11 double crochet. So as you go through your increases, you will have 11, 22, 33, and so on. So what we are seeing here is that because we started with 12 double crochet, in every new row of increases that we work, we see that we have an increase of 12 stitches. So 12 plus 12 is 24, plus 12, 36, plus 12, 48, plus 12, 60, plus 12, 72, sorry. So if you start this with 11 stitches, you will have 11 plus 11, 22, plus 11, 33, plus 11, 44, and so on. Okay, so let's see how to start. Now let's start, and we're going to start with the magic circle. So take the yarn and wrap it around your 2 fingers once and bring it on the top left. Okay, now put your hook under the right yarn and over the left. Grab the left yarn and pull it under. Turn your hook around once so you're forming a loop. Grab the left yarn and pull it through that loop. Now by doing this, I have secured my magic circle and I have the first chain to start my project with. Now if you cannot work the magic loop, you can work with 4 chains, slip stitch on the last chain to form a ring, and in the center of the ring you're going to work the same exact thing that I'm going to work now in the center of my magic loop. So for the 6 to 10 years old hat, I need to start with 12 double crochet in the center of my magic circle. So I'm going to start with a chain of 3. Okay, I already have my first chain, so I'm going to work 2 more. And this is my first double crochet, and I'm going to work 11 more in the center of my magic circle. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and last stitch 12. I've worked my 12 double crochet, and I'm going to take the yarn that I started my magic circle with, and I'm going to pull it tight. Now I'm going to work a slip stitch in the first stitch for this row, which is my chain 3. So counting from the bottom to the top, 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. Put your hook in that chain and work a slip stitch. Now we're going to start the second row where we're going to chain 3. This is my first double crochet, and I'm going to turn my work. In the second row, I want to work an increase in every single stitch. So from the 12 stitches that I have, I'm going to have 24 in the end of row number 2. So the first 3 chains count as my first double crochet, and I'm going to put my hook in the very same stitch that I worked this slip stitch. Okay, the stitch that the 3 chains are coming out from. And I'm going to work 1 more double crochet. By doing this, I have worked 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Now the next stitch, 2 more double crochet. Okay, so I have the first 2 here. This is the third, same stitch, 4. Okay, the next stitch. 5, same stitch, 6. Okay, so keep working 2 double crochet on top of every stitch. Once you reach here on the last double crochet, you're going to have a total of 24 stitches. I have completed crocheting row number 2 with a total of 24 stitches, and I'm going to work a slip stitch on the first stitch of the row, which is always going to be the chain 3. So I'm always going to be counting 3 chains from the bottom to the top. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to work my slip stitch. Okay, slip stitch. Now we're going to start row number 3 with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now in row number 3, we're going to be working increases in every second stitch. This means that on the first stitch I'm going to have 1 double crochet, second stitch 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. So I've worked my first double crochet, which is a chain 3. Now I'm going to put my hook in the second stitch, which is this one over here, and not this, this is the slip stitch. So the second stitch, and I'm going to work 2 double crochet in the same stitch. 1, same stitch, 2. In the next stitch, I'm going to work only 1 double crochet. Next stitch, increase 2 double crochet in the same stitch. 1, same stitch, 2. In the next stitch, I'm going to work 1 double crochet. Next stitch, 2 double crochet in the same stitch. 1, same stitch, 2. Okay, so keep working increase in every second stitch, where in the last stitch over here, if you have crocheted correctly, you're going to finish with an increase, and you're going to have a total of 36 stitches in the end of row number 3. I've completed row number 3. Now I'm going to work a slip stitch on the first stitch for this row, which is the third chain as I mentioned. Okay, so slip stitch, chain 3, and turn your work. Now we're going to start row number 4, where we're going to be working an increase in every third stitch. So this is the first stitch that I just worked. In the second stitch, again, we're going to work 1 double crochet. In the third stitch, we're going to work 2. So 1, 1, 2. And if you crochet correctly, on the last stitch over here, you're going to finish with an increase and a total of 48 double crochet. So first stitch, 1 double crochet in the second stitch, 2 double crochet on the third, 1 same stitch, 2, 1 double crochet on the first stitch, 1 on the second stitch, increase on the third. So we're going to work 2 double crochet in the same stitch, 1 same stitch, 2. So keep working the same pattern up until you finish the row. I've completed crocheting row number 4 with a total of 48 double crochet. Put your hook on the first stitch and work a slip stitch. Now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, oops, and turn your work. Now we're going to start row number 5, where we're going to be working increases in every fourth stitch with a total of 60 double crochet in the end of the row. So this is the first stitch, second stitch, 1 double crochet, third stitch, 1 double crochet, and on the fourth stitch we're going to be working our increase, 2 double crochet in the same stitch, 1 same stitch, 2. Again, first double crochet, first stitch, 1 double crochet, second stitch, 1 double crochet, third stitch, 1 double crochet, fourth stitch we're going to work our increase, 2 double crochet in the same stitch, 1 same stitch, 2. So keep working the same pattern up until you finish the row, where in the last stitch, if you have crocheted correctly, you're going to finish with an increase. I've completed row number 5 with a total of 60 stitches. Okay, slip stitch on the first, double crochet for this row, chain 3, and turn your work. Now we're going to work the last row of increases in row number 6, where we're going to be working an increase in every 5 stitches. Okay, in every 5th stitch we're going to be working the increase. So my first stitch is a chain 3, next stitch is my second stitch, third stitch, 1 double crochet, fourth stitch, 1 double crochet, and on the 5th stitch I'm going to work my increase, 2 double crochet in the same stitch, 1 same stitch, 2. Repeat the pattern from the beginning. First double crochet, 1 stitch, second double crochet, 1 stitch, third double crochet, 1 stitch, fourth double crochet, 1 stitch, and on the 5th double crochet work your increase, 2 double crochet in the same stitch, 1 same stitch, 2. So keep working the pattern up until you finish the row, where again, if you have crocheted correctly, on the last stitch we're going to finish with the increase, and we're going to have a total of 72 stitches. We're going to have a total of 72 stitches in the end of row number 6. I've completed working row number 6, the last row of increases. I'm going to close the row by working a slip stitch on the first stitch for this row. Okay, now in the same exact way that I'm going to start now the first row of shells, in the same exact way you're going to start for all hat sizes. Okay, the first row after after you complete your increases is going to be worked in the same exact way. So chain 3 and turn your work. Now in the same exact stitch that the chain 3 is coming out from, right here, the slip stitch, I'm going to work one more double crochet. I'm going to chain 2, and in the same exact stitch I'm going to work a 2 double crochet cluster. So I've wrapped my yarn around my hook once. Put your hook in the same stitch. Okay, grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops. Now if I crochet through the last 2, I'm going to have a complete double crochet, something that I don't want. Okay, yarn over once again, put your hook in the same stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops and leave the last one on your hook. So I have 2 halfway done double crochet, 3 loops on my hook, which I'm going to close together, and this counts as 1 stitch, what I just did, the 2 double crochet cluster. Now yarn over once, skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, put your hook in the fourth, and now we're going to work a shell again. Okay, so I'm going to start with a 2 double crochet cluster. So grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops and leave the last one, and leave the last 2 on your hook. Yarn over once, put your hook in the same stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops and leave the last one on your hook. I have 2 halfway done double crochet, 3 loops on my hook, which I'm going to close together. Now chain 2, yarn over once, put your hook in the same stitch to form again a 2 double crochet cluster. Okay, so grab the yarn, pull through 2, leave the last 2 on your hook, yarn over once, put your hook in the same stitch, grab the yarn, pull through 2, and leave the last loop on your hook. Again, I have 2 halfway done double crochet, 3 loops, which I'm going to close together. So this is how my shells look like. What this really is a cluster V-stitch. So again, let's work one more together. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th stitch we're gonna work our shell again. So put your hook in the stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over once, put your hook in the same stitch, grab the yarn, pull through 2. I have 2 halfway done double crochet, 3 loops, which I'm going to close together. Chain 2, yarn over once, put your hook in the same stitch, grab the yarn, pull through 2, yarn over once, put your hook in the same stitch, grab the yarn, pull through 2, again 2 halfway done stitches, 3 loops, which I'm going to close together. Okay, so this is how your cluster V stitches are going to look like, your shells. So what you might have realized is that I just work a chain just to make sure that this doesn't frog until I explain what I'm doing. So I'm working a shell in every 4th stitch. Okay, this is the pattern up until you complete the row. Now if you see all the stitches except of 1 or 2 on the chart, after you finish with the increases, they all are divisible by 4. This means that they are a multiple of 4. This stitch is a multiple of 4. What this means is that in every 4th stitch we're working a shell, and if you have crocheted correctly, the last shell is going to be worked on this stitch, and I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 stitches in the end in which I'm not going to crochet anything, and the 4th stitch again is the first shell in the beginning. So the pattern repeats itself all around. Now for 1 or 2 measurements on the chart, the total number of stitches in the end of the increases is not divisible by 4, it's not a multiple of 4. This means that in the end you're going to finish here and you're going to have 2 leftover stitches instead of 3. So here we're improvising and we follow the same steps. So you're going to skip the 2 stitches and slip stitch on the first stitch of the row. This is okay, it's not wrong. the result of the end, your end result, sorry, is going to be the same thing. It's not going to change anything. What we're only doing is that instead of 3 stitches in the end, you will have 2. And I can't recall right now, but it's one of the small ages on the chart that this is going to happen. Okay, for the rest of them, you are always going to be having 3 stitches in the end and then slip stitch in the beginning shell over here. So keep working a shell in the same exact way that we did together in every 4th stitch. And once I reach here in the end where I'm going to work my last shell, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to close the first row of shells and how to start the second one. I have completed crocheting, and as I mentioned before I turned my video off, after my last shell I have 1, 2, 3 stitches left over. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook in the first double crochet for this row, and I'm going to work a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 1 just so my work doesn't frog until I explain. Now see, because we're not working increases anymore, our work has started to build up our hat. Okay, and once you fold it, this is how it looks like. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, okay, I just frogged the chain that I worked and I'm left with my slip stitch. Now we're gonna start the second row of shells, which is the 8th row of my hat, and in the same exact way that I'm going to start this row, in the same exact way all the rows of shells are going to be worked until I finish my hat. So this is the last row that we're working on camera. So I have worked my slip stitch to finish this row, and I'm going to turn my work clockwise so the yarn is behind my hook. I'm going to put my hook in the first 2 double crochet cluster, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. I'm going to put my hook under the chain 2 space, and I'm going to work a second slip stitch. So what I'm doing is I'm transferring my work in the chain 2 space, because from here on I am only going to be working under every chain 2 space up until I finish my hat. Okay, so this is how you're always going to be starting the rows. Start with a chain 3 and 1 double crochet under the same chain 2 space. Now chain 2 and work a 2 double crochet cluster under the same chain 2 space. So grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over once, pull through the first 2 loops. Okay, so again I have 3 loops which I'm going to close together. So I've just created my first shell, and from here on I'm always working under every chain 2 space. So jump over to the next cluster V stitch, and under the chain 2 space again work a shell. So grab the yarn, pull through 2, yarn over once, put your hook under the same chain 2 space, pull through 2. So I have 3 loops which I'm going to close together, chain 2, and again work a 2 double crochet cluster again. 2 loops together, yarn over once, under the same space, pull through the first 2 loops again. So I have 2 halfway done double crochet, 3 loops which I'm closing together to form my 2 double crochet clusters. So this is how my stitches look like. So keep working under every chain 2 space, and once I reach over here where I'm going to have worked under the last shell, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish this row. I'm going to explain how many rows in total we're going to need, okay, and then we're going to close together the hat in the end. I have completed crocheting the second row of shells. I'm going to put my hook on the first stitch for this row, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. Okay, now my chart says that for this size I need to have a total of 18 shells. So I'm starting to count on the left side of the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right here we started counting on the left side of the loop, and on the right side I have a total of 18 stitches. Now, in order to start the rest of the rows, you're going to start in the same exact way. Turn your work your 2 slip stitches to start on the chain 2, and keep working your shells. So this is how our hat looks like at this point. We have worked up to row number 8 together, and my chart says that I need to work up until row number 15 with shells. So we have worked 8 rows together. I need to work 7 more rows of shells off camera, and once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to work together the last 2 rows of single crochet to complete our hat. I've completed crocheting my hat so far. I have the total number of rows that my chart mentions, and if we are crocheting correctly our hat and not parts where we crochet tightly and parts where we crochet loosely, we will have a perfect bell-shaped hat. This is why it's very important to crochet with steady strength. Okay, now let's see how we're going to crochet the last 2 rows of single crochet. After my slip stitch, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Now, on top of each cluster V-stitch, or on top of every shell, however you want to call it, we are going to be crocheting a total of 4 stitches. In the end of this row, we need to have the total number of stitches that we had on the last row of increases. So I had 72 stitches here, so I need to have a total of 72 single crochet. Okay, so work 1 single crochet on top of the 2 double crochet cluster, 1 single crochet in each of the 2 chains. So I have 1 single crochet in the first chain, 2 in the second chain, 3, and on the second 2 double crochet cluster, 4. Okay, so each shell consists of 4 stitches. In the next shell, okay, on the 2 double crochet cluster, 5. In the first chain, 6. In the second chain, 7, and in the second 2 double crochet cluster, 8. See how nice the row of single crochet has started to look like? So keep crocheting all around, and once I reach the last shell over here, I'm going to turn my video back on. I'm almost done crocheting my row. I have 68 stitches so far, and the last 4 we're going to work together on top of the last shell. Okay, so I have 68 stitches. Next one, 69, 70, 71, and in the center of those 2 stitches over here, work your last stitch, 72. Put your hook in the first single crochet for this row and work a slip stitch, chain 1, and turn your work. This is the second and last row for our hat, and we're going to work 1 single crochet all around, starting from the first stitch, which is not this one. This is the hole from the slip stitch. This is the first single crochet over here, 1, next stitch, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, 5, and keep crocheting up until you have 72 stitches. I have completed crocheting all around with a total of 72 stitches. Okay, and I'm going to put my hook in the first single crochet that I made for this row, work a slip stitch. Oops. Let's work the slip stitch again. Slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop and fasten off. Okay, and we have completed our hat. And this is how our hat looks like. The only thing that we have left is to weave in the ends, and it's best to do it back here in the back loops of the rows of single crochet that we just worked. Okay, so this is our MYRTO hat. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like, leave a comment, and share so your crochet friends can see it as well. Thanks again. Bye bye.